Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Indieheads podcast. I'm your host, Matty, aka at Prince on Twitter. On this week's podcast, we have
Jackson at horse_jeans at twitter.com. I am now once again a resident of the hellhole that is the Midwest. I am coming to you live from Ann Arbor, Michigan, and it is only me on this podcast besides Matty. It's just the two of us.
just
a little
two
pals, two pals talking about some music.
We're just two pals, just having very normal ones, talking about some music. Everyone else is gone. AJ, he's at the damn Foxing concert, so
Dad's out the house, so Matty and I are podcasting without him.
Dad left us $20 for a pizza, but we just bought weed instead. Except Jackson's hoarding it because he's a
okay. Let's get started with the podcast today.
Yes,
we've got some good music to talk about. A fair amount of real good albums have come out recently, and we haven't done a pod in a little bit. So it is time to do a little bit of we're gonna do some single alert. We're gonna do some album catch-ups on a couple of the best albums that have come out recently, and give our thoughts on some of them.
Yes, exactly. It is a little bit. It's another damn catch-up cast, folks. So it's gonna be a good one.
We might as well call this the Catch Up on Indie Music Heads podcast.
Yes,
because basically every other episode is yo, we haven't done an episode for 3 weeks and 5 albums have come out that we all need to talk about.
I've been busy. I got a job, all right? I've been working on a job. I've got school. I've been going to school. I've been working a job and going to school. All right? Have y'all got jobs? Y'all got school? I didn't think so.
Maddie's got a carpe that freaking diem, baby. Rise and grind, baby.
Rise and grind. I'm getting that bread, getting that under, just barely under $10 bread, I'm thinking about starting a union, but hey, we'll talk about that on a different podcast. But anyways, let's start off with some single alert. Jackson, this is the first one.
Yo.
Jackson.
Yeah, the first one. It's time for me to wild out.
What is the Shaggy Dog doing? What's he doing?
He's back. He's wearing the navy blue patterned suits with no socks and orange sandals at Hollywood premieres, and he's releasing goddamn classic singles for his new soundtrack / album for the movie Suspiria. It's Thom Yorke, baby. It's the man himself. It's the Radiohead boy that we know and love, and he has a new single out for the soundtrack / album. So basically the way that he phrased it on Twitter is, okay, I'll pull it up and read specifically what he said, but basically Thom Yorke is doing the soundtrack for this remake of the classic 1970s horror movie Suspiria, done by Luca, I'm not going to pronounce his last name because I'm going to fuck it up, but the Call Me By Your Name guy. And so that a movie is coming out soon, which I am very excited for the movie as well, but I am now impossibly excited for this goddamn soundtrack because as Thom Yorke put it, the music I composed for it has now become an album I'm very proud of. It will be released October 26th. And if the rest of it sounds like the single Suspirium, it's going to be a damn classic. It seems like either this is going to be a mostly instrumental movie soundtrack with some moments of Thom Yorke singing on it, or we are about to get Thom Yorke's solo piano album. And if it is the latter, we might die. We might all die if Thom Yorke sings on all of these songs. Radiohead's use of the piano ballad is kind of one specific note that they always go to, because Thom Yorke, one of my favorite videos on YouTube is a 60-minute video that's just a compilation of Thom Yorke and piano moments, him playing it live and singing, because goddamn, the combination of minor piano keys and Thom Yorke's voice is peanut butter and jelly, baby. That's some good stuff. And this track is really, really beautiful and minimal, and it kind of has this really, really subtle, slow progression where it's just piano for a while, but then slowly works in some subtle other instrumentation that's not maximalist, but it's just enough of that little Radiohead kind of touch to elevate it from just being from just being more of a kind of straightforward piano ballad. So I love the single. I love the visual for the single with the pink and the blue and the way that visual was reflected as well on the single cover. It's some good shit. Thom Yorke rules, Radiohead rules. You know this, listener. If you don't, now you know. But yeah, go listen to that. It's really good and has me stupid excited for this goddamn movie and also this soundtrack.
Boom. Again, I'm very excited for the Shaggy Dog remix with starring Thom Yorke too, Jackson. Our next single, Empress of, is back. She's finally back. New album called Us, coming out in October. Her mind.
It's on the way, folks.
Her mind. Me to us, her mind. Brilliant. But she has a new single called When I'm With Him. And folks, let me tell you, it is some good-ass shit, and she is back, and I'm so damn happy.
Yeah, it is a really, really satisfying first single to be like, yo, you know how that last album fucking ruled? This one's also gonna rule. And I'm just like, sure. And also, for one thing I would quickly like to note, shout out to my goddamn son, Jimmy Stack, for the production on this thing, because boy, is there almost no one better suited for his specific, like, lane of production than Empress of's voice. She sounds so goddamn good on, like, those watery synths that he's, like, so, and those watery synths and guitars that are, like, super 80s inspired, but kind of have that, like, modern underground electronic sort of twist to them, kind of Shlomo inspired, that sort of thing. I really love this track, and I think especially like the bridge, her fucking vocals are nuts, like absolutely wild.
It's unfair. It's absolutely unfair. And let's not forget the percussion's also incredible. Like the little drum intro is like, oh, so good.
Oh yeah,
it's so good.
The drums are definitely nice. Really, really very blood orange-ish kind of.
I'm very excited. She's going on tour, and actually, speaking of Empress of and touring and whatnot, actually speaking of Dev Hines, we're going to talk about his album a bit later on in the podcast, and also she's touring with him and the next person we're going to be talking about, Yves Tumor, who has
that is a goddamn stacked tour, especially because that means that Empress of is going to goddamn come out to do her part of Freetown Sound every night, which is just nuts to think about.
It's going to be, man, Dev Hines, you bastard, avoiding the St. Louis. Why do you do this to me? All right, it's bullshit.
Is there a Chicago date? You might have
there probably is a Chicago date. I think the thing is, like, his Chicago date was like Pitchfork, so like
that's true. Yeah, actually,
it's like, I mean, I saw Blood Orange. I'm happy, you know, but it's like, hey, and I even
we saw him. I saw him cover Everything Is Embarrassing.
We saw him, and I saw him 2 years ago at Pitchfork also with Empress of coming out to do Best to You. Yeah. So it's like I had that experience already. So I don't. But still, it's like...
That's true.
But I'm very excited about this this Yves Tumor album that's coming out in the fall, apparently, according to an inside source who I will not name. But, yeah, the single, like... so I got kind of into Little Peep over the summer. I'm an idiot.
He's not bad. There's no part of you that's wrong about that opinion, by the way.
I think, well, the thing is, like, it took a while for me to get into him because I just think, like, the way he was, like, promoted by blogs and whatnot, it was just like, I can totally
understand, no. like from an outsider's perspective, just like seeing the way that he's talked about and just being like, nah, fam, I'm good.
Just like, yeah,
I totally understand that reaction.
My gut reaction was just like, no, just the press, and I heard I think I heard awful things, and I'm like, wow, this song truly is an awful thing, ha ha ha. But yeah, I mean, I don't know why, I just started listening to some singles, and I listened to Come Over When You're Sober Part 1, and I was like, yeah, I did not give this guy a fair shake when he was alive, and it's really sad, and, like, it's taking basically his death to kind of for me to go, oh, he's actually good, and he's actually be, like, really, really missed in hip-hop, because you have people like, you know, Juice WRLD right now who are, like, kind of trying to go for that sound and just, like, for me at least, failing miserably because, like, they're just not as smart as Peep, I guess. Like, Peep just had a very, like, interesting, smart sound in retrospect. The other artists are just, like Juice WRLD, he's an 18-year-old, like, it's front zone core raps.
Peep is a real... Yeah, Peep is, like, musically talented in a way. Like, Juice WRLD is very good at kind of creating a certain kind of sound that is going to appeal to a certain kind of people. Well, Peep clearly, like, while he was definitely engaging in very, like, kind of, like, going for a certain aesthetic and vibe, he also, like, definitely had some, like, real solid musical chops. I don't know why we got into this Lil Peep discussion.
I had this Peep discussion because I got in this Peep discussion because this new Yves Tumor single sounds a lot like Little Peep in a really like. I was talking with I think you know Tim, right, on Twitter, like my friend Tim on Twitter.
Yeah.
We were talking. I was like, I think he posted a single. I listened to it. I was like, wow, this sounds like a lot like Little Peep, like the way the guitars sound and like the vocal stylings of Yves Tumor. And Tim was like, yeah, it's like kind of like a refined Little Peep. And I was like, yeah, that's it. And this single was really incredible. His previous single that he dropped, I'm trying to remember the name of it. It's on one of my playlists for my radio show. It's actually, hang on, wait. Hang on, I can find it. I just need to, again, do a little searching. But he also dropped like 2 new singles apparently like in the past like 2 days, so I need to check those out. Oh yeah, Noid. Put up a new single called Noid that is like a fucking incredible indie pop track. Like holy shit, this dude is like, he's on Warp now. He's gonna have a breakout year, I think. And this new single is just like, it's really, really incredible. It is just really haunting and beautiful. And there's also this noise section like towards the end that's just like fucking mind blowing. I really did this track. Definitely give Yves Tumor a shot. His album I think comes out in the fall. And I think it's gonna be like one of those like late album of the year contenders, if it's as good as like the 2 singles that I've heard from it so far. So, and then one more single to round out this cast. Actually, really, I'm going to give some quick shout outs to singles because I do a radio show that's like the first hour is like all new music. So I've heard a couple of these singles a few times in the show the past month. So I just wanted to shout them out. The new Cloud Nothing single, The Echo of the World, is really damn good. If you were disappointed in their last album, I think this, hopefully it seems like, okay, they're kind of going back a little bit and they're reassessing like what that album was not good at and going back to the well of like, hey, we can write some damn good noise rock and we're going to fucking give you a great album of noise rock. And speaking of noise rock, the new Daughter single is really great. Not Daughters. Just like random noise rock band that I found on Indieheads. Again, the first single sounds like a Swan single. This new one like has like, it's a bit more like Filth era vibes. Really dig it. It's really heavy, really industrial. It's incredible. And then the new. Have you listened to the new Aphex Twin single, Jackson?
I have not listened to the new Aphex Twin single.
If you like Aphex Twin, like it's like, hey, it's more Aphex Twin. Like if you like his sound, it's don't think you're gonna find anything to dislike about it. It's really fucking good. And then I think that's about it for singles that I want to talk about. But let's get into our main topic, the album catch-up.
Which is, we got some albums. We got 4 of them, and the first one we're going to talk about is one that Matty hasn't listened to.
Well, no. I will. Hey. Just talk about the album. Just talk about the album. I may have lied to you, but we'll see.
Okay. All right. Sure. Okay. So the album is the new Interpol album, Marauder, and it's not bad. Hooray! Rejoice! There's an Interpol album that came out, and I don't hate it. The new Interpol album, it's called Marauder. It might as well be called Boneless Turn on the Bright Lights, because it's basically what it is. It is a rehash of their older stuff through basically what is like a more lo-fi garagey sound than they've ever really done before. It's more lo-fi than like the earliest material they ever released. It's mostly recorded like live to tape and has a real like live energy to it, which I think works really well a lot of the time. Sometimes it does sound like Paul Banks has been stuffed in the back of a trunk somewhere, and it's like, why can I barely hear his vocal? But then also I remember that his vocals aren't as good as they used to be, and I kind of
that man's been smoking way too many cigarettes. Like that, like it's caught up to him.
He's just too cool for his own good. It's really a tragedy where he's so cool that he makes the best rock album of all time, but then his coolness then sabotages the rest of his career as an artist. But I will say that like, although he definitely doesn't have like incredible vocals like he does on Turn on the Bright Lights in his album, there are a lot of moments in this album that like really work for me in a classical Interpol kind of way that like really blew me away, because like I have not felt the way I feel about the very first song, which is If You Really Love Nothing, which is like the 3rd single they dropped, which I actually did not. I listened to the first 2 singles before the album, and then I saved the 3rd single for the album, which was foolish because that was by far the best one.
I think it literally came out like a few days before the album came out, so like
yeah, it was I didn't really notice it, but god damn is it might even pass like Antics as being my second favorite. It would not pass it would never pass Untitled as my favorite Interpol opener of all time, because that'd be fucking ludicrous, because that's the best song of all time. But I almost might like it more than I like Next Exit, which is fucking wild. I really, really, really love this song more than I love the rest of this album is like good but not great. But god damn, If You Really Love Nothing is so good. The guitars are so classic Kessler bullshit, and the vocal refrain, that if you really love nothing, it gets stuck in my head all the goddamn time, and it is like a quintessential Interpol album opener, in that after I listen to it, it said I only want to listen to Interpol for the next 2 hours, which is just, is generally a mood, but I really love the opener, and I think the rest of the album holds up pretty well. There are like a lot of moments on this that are like more or less forgettable and kind of just like are a little bit Interpol paint by numbersy, but I really appreciate them kind of just going back to basics and being like, we're Interpol. We kind of, at this point, I think they've kind of resigned to the fact that they're not gonna make like an album that's like, whoa guys, everyone's just like, at this point it's like either you love what they do and you are a sucker for their shtick, or you really hate them and get irritated by them, which I also totally understand that impulse, like on every level. I totally get the Interpol haters, even though I could not be further from them, but like at this point, like they're not really trying to be more than what they need to be, and that's okay. I think this album is a good achievement under their belt, and I hope that I would like to hear them try to do something like this, but like with a little cleaner production. Like really go for it for one more album to just try to kind of nail the signature Interpol sound in a real solid way without cleaning it up too much like they were on some of their late period stuff before this. So I don't know. In general, I'm more positive on this than I expected to be. And If You Really Love Nothing, Song of the Year, baby.
Yeah, I was gonna do a bit where I was just gonna talk about this album, but just like start describing like songs from Turn on the Bright Lights and just say like, oh yeah, Complications, yeah, it's this really sort of droning ambient sort of song for the most part, and then really just builds and builds to a really great crescendo. But I think instead of listening to Marauder, I've just been listening to Turn on the Bright Lights all week.
Which is so fair, because the first thing I did after listening to Marauder was like, yo, turn on the bright lights. Let's listen to that right now, because goddamn, you should listen to Marauder, because I think you would definitely appreciate.
It's just been one of those weeks where it's like, with like I've been busy with work and school, so I want to go to stuff that I'm like, okay, I want to listen to stuff that I like and I'm more familiar with. Except, and I know like I have a podcast, and I got to listen to new music, especially also have a radio show too. But like I'll get to Marauder probably tomorrow, because I actually have like a ton, like I don't have work and I have a ton of free time tomorrow to do some shit. But yeah, Turn on the Bright Lights, man. Shit, man, what a fucking great, perfect album. What
you should have been like, yo, the part in NYSMAW where he starts singing Stella.
Oh yeah,
Stella.
I really like the Surveillance, where he talks about the Polish butcher that he's friends with. That's actually a serial killer. That's pretty great.
Okay, all right, okay. We need to officially start right now. We agreed that as part of our Interpol segment, we would give Matty and myself. We can't start really talking about Turn on the Bright Lights, because eventually we're just gonna do the retrospective pod, which we think is probably gonna end up happening soon. We might do it in like the next couple months, or even weeks. But in the meantime, since we're on the topic, I'm gonna put the timer at 5 minutes, and we'll let Matty and I do 5 minutes on Interpol, which I'm going to start the timer now and start out by saying, God damn it, Roland is a good song, and all of you are cowards for not liking it. It is so underrated. I love it. No, but the thing is, like, Lily's take is that the end of the song is good and the beginning and the start of the song is bad. But both parts of the song are good, and I will fight Lily at Pitchfork next year for this libelous slander. I understand that the lyrics are, like, maybe some of the silliest Paul Banks has ever had in a catalog career of silly lyrics. Don't get me wrong. But, like, the dances I do while that part happens distract me from how silly the lyrics are, because goddamn does that song go.
It's a fucking great song. Lily, again, I love Lily, but Lily, like, I'm gonna fight. Again, Jackson and I, we're gonna, we have to teach Lily a lesson, and she needs to know that Rollin' is a great song, and she needs to know better, because hey, look, it stopped snowing. But I mean, really, this is such a great song, all right, and again, and my best friend's from Poland. And he has a beard. Like, it's so stupid, but I love it.
Noted ally of the bearded Polish men, Paul Banks.
Hey, shouts out to Kasha real quick. Shouts out to Kasha for the Poland shout out.
Yeah. Goddamn one time. Yo, okay. Next question. What is your favorite song on Turn On the Bright Lights?
Ooh, thing is, this is tough. So, if you asked me 2 years ago, I obviously would have said Stella was a diver and she was always down. But you ask me now, and I might just fuck around and say The New is my favorite song now on Turn On the Bright Lights. Which, again, The
New was my favorite song for a bit. For a while, I mean, The New is the one song. Turn On the Bright Lights is not like I'm really, really sad, I need to listen to this album song, but like The New is like the one song on that album I will cry to. That one fucks me up. It is some rough stuff. Although, my personal opinion, and this has basically never... I mean, there have been periods where I've been like, maybe, really, it always comes back to Untitled is the best Interpol song, and it's, like, truly the one that has the largest place in my heart, because the atmosphere it creates with those opening minutes of guitars, and then the way that these vocals come, and just the way that it starts that album, and I never get tired of it. It never doesn't, like, give me goosebumps. It's so goddamn good.
Oh yeah, like, just what a fucking way to start off your album, like, just ugh.
With a song that's untitled. It's just those pretentious assholes.
Like, the thing is that what I like about this album, what I've in my re-listens in the past week to this album is that, like, it's pretty obvious that, like, hey, Paul Banks on this album, or at least the character, or what, it's Paul Banks. He's talking about himself. He's being all cryptic, but it's Paul Banks. Paul Banks was a bit of he's pretty much of a kind of a dickwad, kind of a toxic guy. But, like, that's why I think this album is so compelling in a way, and that, like, as the album progresses, we do see the breakdown of his character and see that, like, he's starting to kind of reveal basically becoming more self-aware of his toxic side, and, like, it's not as abstract, because the album starts off, like, very, like, Untitled is not abstract, like, it's, it sets the mood, like, Obstacle 1, like, what the fuck is
a minute 26 left. Oh yeah, Obstacle 1 is like, that one is one of my favorite examples of exactly what Paul Banks does. It's like this abstract lyricism where it's like, I keep stabbing myself in the neck, doesn't mean anything literally, but like the way he says it, you can understand what he means by it. You can understand the emotional weight behind the line, and you can, like, I don't know what he'd be saying, but boy, do I be feeling that. Like, my favorite, Untitled is one of my favorite songs of all time, and literally all of the lyrics to the song are surprise sometimes will come around, I will surprise you sometimes, I'll come around. Those are all of the lyrics to the song, and it's one of my favorite songs ever made. And it's just like the simplicity of his lyrics, and also kind of the abstractness of them that allows them to kind of connect with people, because they manage to not say anything like really like logical or sensical in a traditional sense, but manage to convey an emotion that is so potent and so amplified by the sonic palette of their instrumental music that it just works. Exactly. 20 seconds left. Goddamn.
She puts the weights in my little heart. Paul Banks, how'd you do it?
The drums on PDA, every lyric of NYC, Hands Away is very underrated. Leif Erikson is also one of the best songs on the album, and that A Sail of the Angels is my least favorite song. That's
okay. One last thing. I know we just passed the 5 minutes.
Okay,
but
go ahead.
But the bridge on The New is fucking incredible. You're looking all right tonight. I think we should go like the second half when the song fucking breaks down. Like, that's why it's my favorite song now. It's like that second half, the breakdown. Oh god, it's so good. All right, that's enough about Interpol. That's enough. But now let's get to.
That's a taste of what's to come when we finally do, and we'll do, because we can't do it here because we gotta wait for Lily and all the other True Turn on the Bright Lights heads.
We will do, like, I can basically confirm, like, there will probably be a retrospect on Turn on the Bright Lights at some point, hopefully before this year ends, hopefully sometime in the fall. But anyways, next album to talk about on this little album catch up, the new Blood Orange album, Negro Swan, following up 2016's Freetown Sound. And this is an album that pretty much since the release of the two singles, Charcoal Baby and Jewelry, I've been very excited about. And now the album has been out for about a week, 2 weeks or so. I'll let you take it from here, because
I'm a little higher on this album than you are. I definitely
I don't dislike this album. Like, I don't dislike it. Let's get that very perfectly clear. I do like the album, but it's just like, man, it's like,
okay.
I don't like it.
Here's what we'll get into. So this is a significantly more stripped back, minimal, abstract, and personal album for Dev Hynes as opposed to Blood Orange as a collaborative project. That's the real difference that you're seeing from Freetown Sound. This is because this album is specifically kind of about a more personal thematic topic. He basically, and I made this comparison to you offline, basically it really was a sort of Channel Orange to Blonde type transition, where we got first this album that was this kind of vibrant, diverse pop album, and then transitioning into more of a introspective, ethereal, kind of abstract album that has lots of different lots of songs that have like kind of multiple musical ideas and sections in them that fluidly transition into each other. And I definitely think this album works in a lot of parts of it. I think it has some incredible songs, some really good production, and a lot of great musical ideas. And overall, there are a lot of moments in this album where I'm just like, boy, do I love listening to a Blood Orange tune. But like, as a whole, this album definitely leaves some to be desired, and definitely for me is not my favorite Blood Orange album. I would definitely say that I like Freetown Sound better than this significantly. And we can kind of get into the different reasons why this album doesn't really work as well. But like, it is, I think part of the disappointment is just that like Charcoal Baby is such a like perfect single. Like truly a flawless, incredible, like maybe my favorite Blood Orange song. And so like to have that be the precedent for what is then it's just because when you see Charcoal Baby, it's like, oh, I know that Dev Hynes can write a goddamn hit. Like, he can write a banger, and that's not what he was then setting out to do, which is not really fair to judge him by that, because I think he's free to kind of explore whatever he wants to do. And I think the kind of like the thematic message that he's exploring in this album and the things that he wanted to express personally, I think really resonate and I think are really incredible. But I just think musically as an album, I think like the more stripped back style just didn't suit him as well as I would kind of hope that it would.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like I said, Charcoal Baby, he made Porsches in 2018 sound good. Like, you can't underestimate how good Charcoal Baby is.
Dev Hynes is a powerful man.
He's very powerful. But like, personally, of the two singles, I prefer Jewelry over Charcoal Baby, which is a bit of a take. Because like, and that's the weird thing of me not liking this album, is that like, I do wish, because I mean, Jewelry is like, it does. Like, the reason why is that, like, as we mentioned, this album is a bit more stripped back. It's a bit more minimal than Freetown Sound. It is the blonde to Channel Orange, but it's just that Dev Hynes is just his own musical style is maybe not sorted to a more minimal style. He maybe works a bit better in a bit more of a maximalist pop space. And I'm not talking like super maximalist. He's not, like, I would not describe like Blood Orange as maximalist. But in comparison to this album, to Freetown Sound obviously is a bit more maximal in its musical elements and styles. I mean, you have fucking, EVP, where you have fucking, saxophones and great synthesizers and Debbie Harry and just crazy drums. And this album has Diddy doing spoken word for much longer than he needs to. Okay,
so I think it's not so much that I necessarily needed. I love all the features on Freetown Sound. I really think that works in a lot of ways, but I think it was more just that like the reason why on works is because if you want to do a really minimal and like stripped back and more like kind of delicate, your voice has to be really goddamn good. And I like Dev Hynes' voice a lot, and I think it works for so many of his songs so well. But like when you give me a 3-minute song where it's just kind of some swirly, jazzy, like ruminations of music while Dev Hynes is singing for a really long time, I'm gonna be honest, I every single time kind of start looking at how much more time is left in the song and kind of space out. Like he's not like a incredible, compelling lead vocalist. I think he's a good vocalist. I think his vocals have a really unique quality and are really often one of the key like secret sauces to making some of these songs like work so well together. Like a really good Dev Hynes like little vocal bridge or like kind of as part of the equation works so well. But like when you're just kind of putting him, and I understand why he wants to kind of strip back the amount of features and strip back the amount of production and really speak more directly, because this album is so deeply personal in the way it kind of deals with like people of color and experiencing kind of depression and marginalization and kind of the ways in which their personhood is like limited and their forms of expression are limited and the way that they're forced to create spaces for themselves, and like all that stuff I thought was just like so fascinating and so important. And like I love the Janet Mock interludes. I know you're like not as big a fan of them personally as like I was, but like in general I just like I really love what this album is doing conceptually. But like part of the reason why I love Freetown Sound is because you got like Empress of doing the best to you part, and you've got Carly Rae Jepsen, and you've got Sky Ferreira, and you've got these really compelling and it's not like Dev Hynes is you need to hide him. It's just that like he can't be when you listen to a whole album where he's like main. I mean, there's a lot of female featured vocalists, but a lot of them kind of I think all of the features that are on this album besides Diddy are really good, but they're not really particularly like. It might be partly because I just don't know some of these artists and can't really pick out their vocals really well, but it kind of just seems like he could have not listed them as features, and I would have really just thought them as sort of like, oh, that's just part of the Blood Orange arrangement, whatever.
Mm-hmm. Like I mean, obviously, like female vocalists have been like a big part in Blood Orange albums pretty much since Cupid Deluxe. Like they played a very major role, especially Freetown Sound in the sound. And his voice is really good when it comes to like more like duet style tracks. Like his voice works like perfectly. You know, I will say. Actually, the two credited female vocalists that are on this album, both of those songs, I do love their performances. The Taishi feature on Hope is incredible, and the Georgia and Muldrow part on Runnin', which is also one of my favorite songs on the album, is really, really, really good. So the two like credited female vocalists on this album are both really great, but most of the ones that are just kind of on the other songs felt very like intentionally anonymous in a way where they're meant to adorn Dev's vocals more than they are like really coming in to do their own part of the song. Mm-hmm. And we were talking about features. A$AP Rocky's on this album, and like
which I do not need.
His verse starts off well, and then just progressively gets worse, and you're like, oh my god, like why is he on the song?
For me, it's okay, and then gets worse, and then gets better toward the end. I don't. It's just like it's not terrible, and I think it kind of fits the mood of the song well, but like I would have been okay with this if you could have somehow teleported like 2014 or 13 A$AP Rocky into the song, and then it would have worked. It's not necessarily that like this album didn't need an A$AP Rocky feature, it's just more that like I've lost all hope in A$AP Rocky ever being good again, which is kind of a bummer, but Jesus Christ, did I not like Testing.
Yeah, I have not listened to Testing yet, and I think I consider that more or less just it's just self-care. Even though there are Dean Blunt features on that album, there's Dean Blunt production. Can you not? I'm like, you would think like, oh, Dean Blunt's on this album. Like, yeah, I'm on an A$AP, but like,
you don't even need like literally just like look up whatever Dean Blunt songs are. Listen to like one or two of those. Listen to Praise the Lord, The Shine with Skepta, because that's like the one hit from the album, and it's pretty good.
I mean, thing is like one of those ones just rolls on Testing. I think there's Baby Father. Sorry.
The two best songs on the album are the one that prominently features a Skepta hook that's really good and has a good beat, and then the last song on the album, which is 75% Frank Ocean.
Yeah, but
so that's all you need to know.
Like,
and the state of ASAP Rocky stock, of which I have sold every penny.
And she had the mesh shirt. I turned it into a sweatshirt. Throw on that sweatshirt. She fucked with Earl too.
Oh god.
She fucks with girls too.
Oh, that is like almost as bad as the Eminem hooded sweatshirt line.
Like I said, I am not. Look, I'm participating in a lot of self-care
this
year.
No
Eminem, no ASAP Rocky, just no.
Not listening to Kamikaze is the best kind of self-care. Absolutely.
I don't care. Like, I don't care to listen. It's like, I know I'm going to dislike. Here's the thing. My philosophy at this point when it comes to listening to albums is that, like, if I know I'm going to dislike it, or I've heard singles where I don't like it, or I know the artist, like, I don't trust them to make a good album, like, I'm just not going to listen to it. Unless I have trusted people tell me, oh, it's good, you should listen to it. And if a trusted person told me that the new Eminem album was good, they were no longer be a trusted person in my eyes. Like, no, get out of here. But I mean, let's get back to dive back into Blood Orange. I want to have some thoughts. I want to get some more thoughts
go
on
ahead.
there. Like I said, the album, it does start off like fairly strong. Like, Orlando's a good track.
Oh no,
Saint is really great. I love Saint.
Both of those songs are stellar. I think Orlando, Saint, Hope, Jewelry, Charcoal Baby, Family, like, and Take Your Time is pretty good. It's a little slow, but like I think at that point in the album, I'm kind of like I'm willing to take a moment to breathe after Orlando and Saint. Like, it feels earned there. Where like after those two first songs that are just like bangers, then it takes a second to kind of slow down a little bit. As opposed to later in the album where there are like multiple songs like that kind of stacked against each other.
Yeah, and like, you know, like I said, I know we mentioned Chewing Gum, but like, I like the stuff that as basically the non-ASAP Rocky parts of Chewing Gum, I like. Like, that end sample with a Chopped and Screwed Project Pat sample is really fucking good. That's incredible.
Dope. That is dope as hell.
And like Dingenheim Dream sounds like it like, I know I mentioned Dean Bowen earlier, it sounds like a Hype Williams song. The way that, like, sort of the way that synthesizers sound, and like the more like kind of, you know, aping that lo-fi styling of electronic music that Hype Williams was doing back in the day. Like, it sounds great and it works because there's no one really making music like Hype Williams was making back in the day besides, like, you know, Dean Blunt and Inga Copeland. You know, no one's really trying to recreate those sounds. At least now. Maybe some people were kind of taking little bits of them, but like nowadays, like, no. Like, both those artists have moved on. But
I'm gonna keep it real with you, Chief. I really don't like that song.
I don't think I'm good. Like,
well, you also like Dean Blunt and Hype Williams. That's what I'm trying to convey to you, dog. That is exactly what I'm trying to convey to you.
I know. All right, and then Out of Your League. I know, like, that was the one that the features I was hyped about. Like, oh, Steve Lacy's on this song. This is going to be incredible. And it ends up being like, it's pretty forgettable. Like, I don't remember how it sounds like.
It's not a bad song. I like it, but like, for being Steve Lacy's vocals, I think there's some on them, but they're very background. Like, you can't he's not like coming in doing rock star Steve stuff. He's doing some synths and some drums and like maybe a little guitar, but it's not a guitar heavy song, so you're not really getting like an iconic like Steve Lacy guitar lead. No. And he's not really doing a prominent vocal feature, and in general the song's instrumental was just okay and Dev's vocal was just okay, so it was just like that was the real bummer, because like if there was a really great like Blood Orange Steve Lacy collab, that would help fill this album out a little bit. I kind of needed it there, because like I thought Runnin' was real good, but in general, like, the run from Vulture Baby to Nappy Wonder is just like not personally my Nappy Wonder was really good live, and I like that one, but in general, like, that little stretch of the album, really from Vulture Baby to Dagenheim Dream, is just kind of, it's tough for me. That is, I think, where he falls apart a little. But I will say that, like, Runnin' is a beautiful song, and I think Minetta Creek and Smoke make for a nice little 1-2 outro.
And I was going to mention with Out of Your League again, like, it sounds like a demo off an EP that was already a demo EP. Like, it just sounds like it just sounds like he had like a demo of a demo lying around, and like him and, you know, Dev Hynes kind of messed around with it a little bit and threw it on the album. You know, it's just, like this album, it definitely hurts because like the album, like I mentioned this and I don't know if I fully stand by it exactly, but I feel like this album, it could have maybe benefited by being a little bit longer. It's already like fairly long. It's 16 tracks, 50 minutes, but like I just don't feel like he gives the ideas that he's presenting on this album enough room to breathe on some of these songs. There's some obviously like Charcoal Baby Jewelry, and then like some of the intro tracks where like he has his ideas and he really lets them shine. He really like presents them all out. But there's others where just the minimal style just doesn't work for Dev Hynes, and maybe I don't know what to
I think the solution to that is not to make the album longer and give the ideas more to breathe. The solution to that is to cut some of the ideas. I think I like Jewelry, and I think all of the parts of that song work well together. But I almost never listen to it because there's very rarely like a time when I'm like, you know what I want to throw on is that, but then that, but then that, but then that. Like it's like those kind of songs is just such a high degree of difficulty when you're shifting back and forth between different styles and motifs and forms and and with a lot of those, it's like this was a very similar thing for I was trying to think what album was this very similar for, where just like I kind of wish you would just like that one idea is like a good idea that you should have then used elsewhere instead of jamming 4 good ideas into one song that don't really add up to a whole good idea, and then having other parts of this album where it just kind of feels like blood orange by the numbers. And it's like you should have just taken this one song that has multiple good parts of it and fleshed each of those out into its own song and then cut some. I don't know. It's not really my position to really make those decisions, but in general, I definitely think like longer was not the way to go on this album, because like I said, like Dev Hynes cannot really carry super duper long stretches of songs where he's really gotta pull a lot of weight by himself vocally. And so I think the move for that is then to really focus on crafting good songs around one solid good idea, but not like, it doesn't mean that song has to stay the same the whole time. Like Charcoal Baby has incredible progression around it, but like the progression of the song is all centered around the same kind of core idea that's there from the very beginning, as opposed to Jewelry, which goes in 4 different directions.
Mm-hmm. Like, okay, this is the take.
We've talked about this album a lot, but go ahead and make a few more.
This is the last point I'll make. This is the take that I will like fully stand behind, and that like the album is it's trying to be. There's at times a sound where it tries to be cohesive, and it really succeeds at that. And there's other times where it just like throws it out the window, and it's just kind of frustrating because it's like, do you want to be a cohesive album or do you not want to be? Because there's times where it's like, oh, he wants to make this like this cohesive kind of masterpiece album, a la Blonde. But it just doesn't. The album just there's times where the flow is just completely off, and I know I've mentioned the Dean Blunt comparisons at times. And I'm just gonna throw it out there again. Like I feel this album, it really would have benefited from like really committing to be this like really cohesive experience where it doesn't have to worry about like, okay, all the songs in here, because there's times where it's like some of the interludes are like they are tracks themselves. Like Family is a track itself on the album, but there's other times where Janet Mock will come back on, but she's just a part of the song, and it's like, if you're gonna have these interludes, like commit to it and have these like be their own songs, like really try to make this a cohesive statement instead of like kind of doing it sometimes and then kind of not doing it sometimes. I just think like I think this album just needed more time. It just needed more time to stew. I think you just needed to stew with this a bit more in the studio. I think you just needed more time for this, because again, there is a great album in here somewhere. I just think like he just needed to take some more time with it. Sound
palette. The more kind of subdued, kind of jazzier sounds that he's working with in this album, as opposed to Pretend Sound, I really love like so much of the piano embellishments. Some of the flute sections that come in this album are rad as hell.
Hang on, sorry. Very actually like relevant announcement. I just got an Instagram notification that Dev Hynes is going live with Charlie Puth.
What the hell?
Oh boy. Okay.
Oh boy. They're about to cook up a damn classic.
But I legitimately, no, I'm not joking. I know you're joking a little bit, but like legitimately, no. They could brew up a classic. Like Charlie Puth has got some.
He doesn't have a terrible voice.
Charlie Puth has had hits. He's really had some damn great hits like over these past years.
All right, we're talking about Charlie Puth. It's time to move on to the next album.
Oh wait, no, it's just like with Benny Blanco. I think it's just why did it say why with Dev Hynes? I don't know. Anyways, all right, next album. Let's see. On the list, up next is the new Idols album, Joy as an Act of Resistance. And Jackson, you're the Idols boy here. Proceed.
Punk music is back, baby. It's good again. Woo, wolf howl. The new album from Idols, it's called Joy as an Act of Resistance, which is not my favorite title, but I think it actually is a very fitting title. The only problem I have with it is just I have too much baggage with the word resistance right now, and I can't really take it as just what the word means instead of what the context of the word means now. But that being aside, holy cow, like the for a band to come out with their first album and have it be just a solid rock of like, here is what we are and here is what we sound, and then for their second album to be like that, but then a huge ambitious jump forward in every way, and have that second album come out a fucking year after the first one came out. Like, are you kidding me? Like, the fact that they crank out Brutalism and then just like have this huge leap in them just ready to go right away, like, I was beyond impressed with like when I heard, I loved Brutalism, and that album like goes and has so many great songs on it that I really love, but like it's really kind of straightforward in what it does. Like, every song is more or less like there's going to be a fucking rad bass line and some fast drums and fast guitars, and he's going to yell in a British accent about stuff, you know, and like there are some like straight up perfect songs on that album, and it's really consistent and awesome, but like nothing compares to what I think some of the stuff that goes on this album is. It from the very first single, from Colossus, we just knew immediately, like, oh, they're doing it now, because Colossus is this it's a much longer, more ambitious song than kind of what we expected from before this, and Colossus is basically like a 4.5 minute long swan song, then stops completely to a halt, and then becomes this completely raucous, like, super fast punk song for the last minute of it. And just like it's such a great, like, menacing, ominous build for the album, and then into a complete, like, joyful mayhem. And that's really like the fun thing about this album, is it is so like dark, and it is so politically charged, and it is so angry, but it manages to, like, in the way that like all real great, like a lot of real great political art can do, is it like manages to relish in the kind of chaos that they're sowing and like have fucking fun while they're doing. I mean, that's the joy as an act of resistance. It's the idea that like people being oppressed by capitalism or xenophobia or all the different things, or masculinity, like all the things that they talk about on this album, and like basically saying, like, in response to that, let's have a fucking fun time and burn shit and just like
I'm doing this podcast live from my burned down house as we speak because of this album.
I mean, he told us to burn our houses down, unity. So and after the way that song ends, like you have to do it. Like, Rottweiler is a dangerous song. Like, that song is straight up like needs to be government regulated. That song is so powerful. I mean, we'll get to that, but I think in general, like, the singles for this album are just top to bottom fantastic. You got Colossus, you got Danny and Delco, which is this incredible pro-immigrant anthem, basically, and is like so genius in the way it manages to convey a really complex kind of immigration point, like, so simply. Like, basically, like, the repeated kind of phrase in the whole, it's not just a song about like, like, he doesn't go like, oh, Trump, you gotta tear down that wall, or like,
sir,
hey, or
sir,
like, hey guys,
sir,
we gotta
you're fired, sir. You're fired.
He says, my best friend is an alien. My blood brother is Malala, a Polish butcher. He's Mo Farah. It's like this idea that like the people that we think of as being these exalted great immigrants that are examples of why immigration is good aren't the only people that you should let in. It's like, if you believe in these things, it's because you believe that all humans, he's made of bones, he's made of skin, he's made of flesh, he's made of blood. Like that repetition, it's like, it conveys such a like specific, pointed, important point on a difficult topic, and it does it in a tongue-in-cheek, fun, simple way that's like catchy. Like the levels that they're operating on here are nuts. Like making art that is simultaneously fun and politically resonant is like basically impossible. And the fact that they managed to pull it off so well with like the gang vocals on that song and the banging drums and the goddamn classic bass lines that are all over the thing. We talked about this off air, but goddamn is the Idol's bass is good as hell.
I want to give him a fat kiss on the lips. It is unfair. It is just, no one should be playing bass lines this dirty. Like it is completely unfair.
And then the third single was equally amazing, which is Samaritans, which is a more like restrained song. There are a couple of songs on here that are either like way more like kind of poppier or more like intentionally like joyous than we've ever really heard from them. And there are also songs on here like Samaritans that are a little more. I mean, the end of Samaritans kind of has a build to it, but most of Samaritans is kind of a more restrained kind of a little more indie rock-y in its way, but like Samaritans, as Colossus really do, a lot of this album really directly like deals with masculinity, and I think Samaritans is by far the best at like specifically handling like the way that like the expectations of like masculinity. It resonates with me so much, and also like I just think it's really the mask of masculinity is a mask that's wearing me. Like that whole refrain is just so incredibly powerful. The way to see someone like so aggressively dealing with these kind of dealing with queer identity and dealing with gender in the way that he is such a like really important voice that kind of feels so. It's this kind of sentiment that feels so absent from pop culture and music that like when you hear it, it's like, wow, holy shit! Like how are we not all like making art about this problem, the problem toss like. Stand up, sit down, don't cry, drink up, don't whine, grow some balls, he said, grow some balls. The mask of masculinity is a mask that's wearing me. I'm a real boy and I cry. And then the iconic, easily the best pop culture reference of many good ones on the album, the I kissed a boy and I liked it, straight into that build up at the end where the drums come in. That moment is like just elite music right there, baby.
Boom. And I listened to I think Great a couple of times. Great, like I said, we're talking about nasty bass lines. Ugh.
The bass line on that one is really good. Although I will say Great is my least favorite of the singles significantly, but that's also just so it's a little more straightforward. I mean, yeah, it's a little more straightforward than the others, and I think the like hook on Great is way less like catchy and than Danny Nedelko is, which is a similarly kind of simple song, but Danny Nedelko makes up for being a simple song by being really catchy and really like resonant.
What's Graham Rock. Oh yeah, where he just starts like just what's the lead singer's name? Joe Talbot.
Yeah, the 10 points Gryffindor. He says there's a snake in my boot. He says these boots are made for stomping. They'll stomp all over you.
My boy fucked Tom Hiddleston's stylist.
that lyric was nuts. Oh my god, there's so many like wild and so the singles are all really great, but then like front to back, I think the thing that is impressed me the most about this album is diversity, because while Brutalism was like so solidly accomplishing a singular thing, like every song on this album almost is bringing new different things to the table. Like Never Fight a Man with a Perm, those guitars are just fucking killer. That song is incredible, and then the way they do those like slamming guitars on the chorus, the concrete to leather, and the way that those like big noisy guitars just slam. Oh my god, there are so many moments in this album that are just so incredibly well put together and unique pieces of just aggressive rock music that are so thrilling and work so well with kind of what Joe's doing vocally as a frontman.
Yeah, I will. Full disclosure, I've only listened to this once. Probably listen to it a bit more throughout the week, since I am seeing again, I'm doing some truly fucked up things to my body and to my mind by seeing Car Seat Headrest, Foxing, and Idols within 3 days. Like,
you're gonna die.
I will die
fully, but
like I will die.
It's gonna be a fun time.
It's gonna be great though. Like, yeah, I'm gonna die, but like, hey, like pretty good way to go out, honestly.
It is a great way to go out. But yeah, this And I think his album is also really well paced. Like Colossus is such a good opener, followed by Never Find a Man with a Perm, which is like a pretty much perfect second song. And then I'm Scum and Danny Delco are two like a little more straightforward songs. And then you kind of go love songs into Samaritans, which is really like I would say like the darkest point of the album, where like Love Song and June are Love Song is really dark and really introspective, and then June is like this absolutely heartbreaking song that basically is a Skeleton Tree B-side. Jesus Christ, not only in sound but also in lyrical content, in the way that it talks about him having a stillborn child and basically his kind of crisis of fatherhood, where he's like saying like, am I a father even if my child passed away in the process of childbirth? And it's some heavy shit, and is and musically as a song is so much more compelling, I thought, than I believe the song Slow Savage on Brutalism was like the ballad that they did on that album. That's like, and that one I found it was like that one was, I was like, oh, this is the punk band doing a ballad. It's like I'd rather them just do the punk band stuff. But on June, partly because of the song topic, but partly also because I thought it was a really good, very like Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds kind of slow post-punk song basically, and it was hauntingly beautiful. It's really really incredible. Also, and then the great thing about that, so like I was saying, it kind of has that like down dip where like Love Song and June are so dark, and then Samaritans is dealing with that so much, that pressure, but then the end of Samaritans is kind of like this comeback up where it's like, I kissed a boy and I liked it, fuck you, and he's repeating the same things that they're repeating to them, but in this kind of triumphant way, which then leads into Television and Great and Graham Rock, which are like three of the most like exuberant fuck you anthem. Television, the hook on Television is stuck in my head all the goddamn time, because I break mirrors, because I smash mirrors and fuck TV. It's the best song about smashing mirrors since I break mirrors in my face in the United States, I'll tell you that much. Television is incredible, and like in Television, the way it talks about kind of like the way that, obviously it's not a really original concept, the idea that like media influences the way that people want to dress and act, and you gotta break free of that cycle. But the specific way he expresses that, like, the bastards made you not want to look like you, is such an incredibly simple but like profound way of saying that. They made them not want to look like, made you not want to look like you. And he says, if you talk to someone the way that you talk to you, I'd punch your face through. Love yourself. Like so many of those lyrics in that song are just like so funny and witty and simple, but like managed to resonate. Bigger ideas is really what makes Idols so compelling as a band, I think. And then just top to bottom, like instrumentally, like they fucking rip all the way through this album. They are so goddamn tight as a band, and they're so like precise, but then also are so great when they completely let loose and go absolutely nuts, which is what happens on the last song on this album, which is Rottweiler, which is actually a song they've had for a while. Apparently they've been playing it live since 2016 is what I heard, and I understand why this would probably be a staple of their live set, because I imagine it's pretty fun to play your guitars that loud, because holy shit, this is like so basically Rottweiler starts out as like a pretty basic Idols song for 2 minutes, and then it starts this slow crescendo that builds and builds and builds to a point where it then releases and somehow starts building more, and then it gets noisier and noisier and noisier until it is a complete like cacophony of noise, and it is like one of the scariest music listening experience. I very rarely get like actually like intimidated by music these days, like since like not since like I heard like Death Grips in high school have I like heard something that was like, oh geez, this gives me the heebie-jeebies. Like they really fucking went for it on that song, and it totally pays off, especially with the way that it crescendos into that repeated that part at the end that I tweeted that we love so much, in which he specifically requests that you keep going, keep fucking going, keep going, fuck 'em, go, smash it, ruin it, destroy the world, burn your house down, unity. I mean, what else do you gotta say other than that? I think it really covers most of what you need to know about this album.
Yes, and also a bit of news about this album. Apparently, it's going to be like, at least in the UK, it's going to be debuting in the top 3 album charts, which is like, I didn't realize Idols was that. I didn't realize they were that big.
I guess they're getting pretty damn big in the UK, which are probably, I mean, it explains why they've had such kind of a rise to popularity. I mean, they were just really good out the gate, and they've gotten better so quickly that, like, them having a quickly ascending career trajectory is not surprising to me. Even though I think they will take some people a little time. It took, like, some people weren't really into Brutalism because it was a little more specific. But I think because this album manages to do so many more, like, hooky things and really manages to diversify their sound in so many ways, I can imagine this album being, like, huge for them, which I love because goddamn are they a good band.
Yeah, I guess I'll be giving it more listens throughout the week, hopefully. And it's just, again, like I said, I wasn't, I couldn't really get into Brutalism a whole lot, but I feel like it just wasn't the right time, and I feel like, okay, now as I think because I'm getting so pissed off at my job, I feel like, okay, now is the time to get into Idols. Like, this is good timing. Like, I fucking hate my stupid job.
There are a few, like, more cathartic listening experiences you can have in 2018 than screaming all the lyrics to Television or Never Fight a Man with a Perm.
I'm ready to get fucking rowdy. I'm ready to become a crust punk.
I swear to God, if they allow us to have Idols at Pitchfork Fest 2019, like, unspeakable things will be done in the pit.
It just depends. It just depends. I think pretty much honestly, like, I would love to do Pitchfork again next year, but I think it's really going to be like, okay, the lineup this year wasn't the greatest. Whatever festival books Idols and is, like, a bit easier to afford, we're going to go with that one.
I think the festival lineup was good this year. The problem is, like, the top-heavy bands weren't good, and I don't think that's Pitchfork's fault as much as it is, like, every summer there are only so many, like, large name acts that you can book for a headlining slot, and especially with Pitchfork where they don't have a lot of money, it's like they've just got to choose from bands that, like, there's, like, a Venn diagram of, like, bands people are going to pay to see tickets and, like, bands that are currently touring this summer, and then the bands that fit in the intersection of that Venn diagram are the ones they can get. And last year the 2 of those bands were Tame Impala and Fleet Foxes, 2 bands that we just happen to not care about at all personally. And so I think last year was not necessary. I think this year's was booked pretty well top to bottom, and I had an awesome time. But I expect next year's lineup to be better.
Oh, I mean, I'm not saying, like, this year was bad. It's just like, hey, like, going in 2016, 2017, the lineup was definitely like, oh, this is not up to snuff.
There are a lot of like bands that, like, almost certainly will be there. Like, I swear to God, if they don't book Foxing, like, what are they? And Ian Cohen will fight everyone at that office if they don't book Foxing next year. I think
it just depends on how they book things again, because it seems like this year was, like, the first year it became very, very noticeable. Like, oh, Red Stage and Green Stage, like, those are, like, basically this is what, it wasn't a rock-heavy lineup this year. It was like, oh, just throw the rock bands and all the folk, whatever, just throw on the Blue Stage, whatever. Like, that's what it felt like this year. It was like, oh, like, okay. But anyways...
War on Drugs was on the main stage, and Tame Impala and Fleet Foxes.
It's like, basically, it was like only
the big bands.
Yeah, only the big rock bands are going to get.
And it also worked out that way, where just there were a couple of bands also that played on main stage that we just didn't happen to personally care about, like Lucy Dacus and things like that.
Yeah.
That's
anyways, okay, let's get to our next discussion. The last time we talked about today on the podcast, so it's the one we'll be getting more in depth about. We're talking about the new Mitski album, Be the Cowboy. And like I said, very similar to Blood Orange, one of the most, for me at least, one of my most anticipated releases of the year. I listened to Nobody like 25 times in a week. I was hyped for this album, and I will say, now that I've listened to it quite a bit, it does not disappoint. But at first, it did disappoint a little bit. As my first listens for this album were like, okay, these songs are good, but this album is not really that cohesive. Like, it's not really coming together all that much for me. It's just kind of like, because Puberty 2 is for the most part a very cohesive album that stitches together pretty damn well. Well, this album is like, I think Ethan described it as like more of a sketchbook album, and I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense. And like once I kind of was like, okay, this is not gonna be a cohesive album. This is an album of ideas and sketches of songs that are pretty well formed. Once I got that in my head, I really, really got on this album, and I really, really.
It's really good. I love this album as well. I think she made the right call making this album now, and even though this it will not get as much play for me as Puberty 2 and Bury Me at Mayhap Creek did, but I definitely think this album is going to do a really great job in broadening her audience, broadening her sound, showing kind of the different things. I mean, this album is she's basically I name it, I can do it. Disco, bam. Country, bam. Yeah. And the great thing about this album, I think, that actually does make it work is even though it does kind of go all over the place and doesn't really, and with these short songs where it kind of will just segue from one idea to another, I think the production of this album is very carefully considered in a way where, even though songs of this album do feel like there's not really anything tying them together, they do kind of share a similar kind of set of sounds and tones to them, where one song that's kind of synth heavy and one song that's way more guitar heavy do feel like they make sense on the same album. It's not it's apples and oranges. They really do feel kind of all sprouted from Mitski's very idiosyncratic sort of songwriting style, and because of that, I think her as a lyricist and a vocalist is what allows the album really to gel together, because goddamn can that lady write a song.
Yeah, Mitski, this album is basically just, it's Mitski flexing. It's hey, I'm Mitski, and I write incredible fucking pop music.
This is hi, I'm Mitski, I'm here. I'm capital H here now, and you have to name me in the first 5 people you talk about when you're talking about indie music now. See, it's and I'm really glad that and I think Ian Cohen and Stephen Hayden talked about this a little bit on their pod, where they talked about basically simultaneously wanting to be Mitski's goal basically being to be a representative voice in music, but not also to entrench herself in that. She doesn't really want to be a part of that kind of narrative, you know what I mean? The way that people place the burdens of all women in indie rock upon these certain artists, and she does a really good job of just kind of being. I think this album really accomplishes so much in a way that is so much more than simple oh, women empowerment. It's no, this is really complicated, nuanced, incredibly well crafted indie songwriting, and really just her sort of saying I'm one of the best, and you kind of have to at the end of this album, if you didn't already. I've always been a big fan of Mitski, but it's really, you really gotta tip your hat to her and be you are the cowboy. You are indeed the cowboy. Yeehaw.
Yes. Basically, listening to this album is it's a continuous gif of that one Vince McMahon gif where the bodybuilder flexing is Mitski, which is the songs as they progress, and of course me just being oh, that's basically the entire run from Geyser to Nobody of holy shit, she's really doing this damn thing, because I can't decide a favorite song. I cannot decide a favorite song on this album. It changes with every listen, which is really, really impressive, because for the most part nowadays, it's I can pick out a clear favorite within, 4 or 5 listens. Okay, this is the best song on the album. Done. But I've listened to this album now probably 10, 15 times, and I'm yeah, I can't tell you a clear favorite. I could tell you one. I'd say right now it's probably Remember My Name, but you ask me in an hour, I'd be actually no, it's Me and My Husband,
The Lonesome Love through Me and My Husband stretch is actually really, I mean, Geyser and Why Didn't You Stop Me are both good, and I think that's the right way to start the album, but Old Friend, Lonesome Love, Remember My Name, Me and My Husband is just is a brutal stretch for my heartstrings, because oh boy does Old Friend and Lonesome Love is the most is the one song that has that little bit of yeehaw twang to it, just the smallest amount, the tiniest little sprinkling of that Casey Musgraves dust, and goddamn it does it work for her. The fucked up thing about Lonesome Love is I was oh, she could just do an Angel Olsen album and it would be a classic. There's the thing that this album made me realize is that Mitski has 5 or 6 albums that she could do. She could do a synth pop album that's just Why Didn't You Stop Me, or she could do an entire entirely disco album where she has a lot of more like classical vocal things like she does on Nobody. She could do like a more kind of alternative lo-fi garage country thing like Angel Olsen. Like this album, this I mean her last two albums are like really, really great indie rock records, but this kind of shows that like her songwriting is not just indie rock. She can take this in so many different like directions going from here that this has me unbelievably excited about the future of Mitski somehow more than I was before.
I was gonna, since you mentioned Listen Love, because nobody bars me up like you and nobody fucks me like me. One of the hardest lyrics of all year, like Jesus.
Truly a bar.
But yeah, as you're saying, like this album, it's just such a great showcase for Mitski's songwriting. Because I know in an interview with Pitchfork recently, like she's gonna start writing for other artists. Like I think she's like has some sessions booked with like some like Ali X, and probably and obviously went on tour with Lorde, not that long ago. Yeah. So I feel like this album is just like, hey, like basically it's a portfolio of like, hey, here's all the different types of songs I can write. And just kind of put them together in like one album, and
it's also not just like it's not shallow in that way where she's like, oh hi, here's my like it does serve a portfolio, but that's like not the
it's not the intention.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like she really like I think this album really does nail a very specific thing that she was going for, and I'm very happy like how much it's able to achieve going on here. Although I will say, I cannot relate to your favorite song changing every listen, because my second favorite song changes every time I listen, but my favorite song is goddamn Two Slow Dancers, because, oh boy, is that, like, truly one of the most, like, it has immediately entered the upper echelons of I cannot listen to this song in public, Valhalla, because, oh boy, does this song make me cry a lot. It is and also the thing I love about this is like the decision to go with that shorter songwriting style for the whole album, and then the one song that goes over 3 minutes is the ballad at the end, and the way that she kind of just like lets that song breathe a little bit makes it feel like when you because at the beginning of this album you kind of feel like with Geyser, and especially with the very first two songs, you kind of feel like, oh, these songs are really short. Like so at the very beginning, like, Geyser is amazing, but also you kind of feel like, I kind of wish these songs were longer. But then by the time you get into, like, Old Friend, Pearl, Lonesome Love, Remember My Name, you're like, oh, man, I just love these songs. You don't really notice the length of them. But then by that point, you get kind of acclimated to the shorter length. And then when you go back to Two Slow Dancers, and she's just really milking every second of the two slow dancers, last one's that. It tears me into pieces. It is. Does it smell like a school gymnasium in here? It's funny how they're all the same. It's funny how you'd always remember, and we've both done it 100 times before. It's funny how I still forgot. Just like, and drive a stake through my heart and throw me off a cliff. I'm done. I'm finished. It is the best. It is my favorite Mitski ballad, more than Class of 2013, more than what's it called?
Crack Baby, or is it
more than I?
Or no, the outro.
I was gonna say a burning hill is what I was gonna say, but yeah, more than a burning hill, more than like even more than what was the one on Last Resolution? Yeah, like it is the ultimate Mitski closer, I think, and it's just like just purely gorgeous, beautiful, heartbreaking song. And just works so incredibly well. I was really actually happy I saved that as the one single I didn't listen to, because that was a doozy of a way to get into it, is hearing it at the very end of that album. Mm-hmm. That's a song I'll put on sometimes, and like the first lyric hasn't even come in yet, and I start getting teared up just because I feel it coming in my bones. Like that's the levels we're dealing with here. It is some fucked up stuff, folks.
Mm. Yeah, it's fucked up. I don't love it as much as you love it. I just think, like, for me, I think part of it is just my philosophy on albums, so that I like my albums ending on a bang rather than like I won't call it it's not a whimper in a bad way, obviously, but like
no, it is a like this is the very slow, subdued closer is definitely it's a genre of song, and it's a type of way to end the album. And some people and
there's people who do it well, like Pops by Angel Olsen, like that's probably my favorite song of My Woman. Like Pops is fucking
exactly
is nuts.
I get what you mean. Like it sometimes it works. For me at least, I think partly because of the way that it managed to be longer and more developed, it kind of feels, and also I think with the kind of crescendos of like instrumentation that come when the song sort of starts to ride, I mean, above being just sort of piano about. I think I think it's a perfect way to end the album. But I do get what you mean, because there are definitely other albums by other artists where like I feel like that approach was not the right move.
I like it. I think it's a good outro. It's just like
I've come. One more turn on the Bright Lights reference. I've come around on the fact that Leif Erikson actually is the correct closer as opposed to the new. I for a while I used to think that I would rather the new be the last song than Turn on the Bright Lights, but actually I think Leif Erikson kind of does work better as sort of a bang to end the album as opposed to the new being a better penultimate track. But I think in the terms of Be the Cowboy, I mean I'm head over heels for it, but I think it also works so incredibly as a way to kind of close the album and also close so many of the themes of the album. Mitski's good, folks.
Mitski's good.
This podcast has been longer than we thought it was going to be.
Probably a little bit. I don't know where we're sitting at right now time-wise. I got to pull up my recorder.
We were going to go for an hour, but we're over an hour. We're at an hour 20.
We're at an hour 15, so we're actually doing pretty good on time. But we're probably going to wrap things up. Again,
this is the two of us. We don't want to talk too long. Be the Cowboy is really goddamn good. I love a couple things. The guitars on like Pearl and Remember My Name, and in general, this album, the guitars are good. But a couple of those songs just have some incredible, like, I really love the more indie rock songs in this album, because they manage to kind of show a way that, like, they're a little more cleaned up than some of the stuff that's like on Puberty 2 or Bury Me. These aren't like emo-y in the way that Bury Me and Make Out Creep kind of is. But I think they really, really work well in that they're not like, I was worried that that this album was going to feel kind of like sanitized or some way, and it really doesn't. Never comes across that. It's so vibrant and colorful and textured in a way that just works. And I think Mitski also really showed that like her songwriting and sensibility does really work in pop in a way that like you always kind of knew that it would, because she's just such a talented songwriter. But like really hearing it executed in the way that like nobody does is like, we've never heard her like go hard like that. In that sort of way.
It's a complete revelation. It's like nobody, like when it came out, like it was just like, holy shit, like she's doing it. Like
it's definitely like very, very similar to how people were with Your Best American Girl, where it's like the song on the album people go, yo, like this is fucking insane.
So again, just a quick wrap up. I'm just gonna go through my top 5 on this album and why I love it so much. Just a sentence about each one. No particular order. Why Don't You Stop Me? Those synths, man. Oh, it's so good. The synths sound so good. A Pearl, the chorus where it's like, I fell in love with the war. It's like, whoa. And did you see that tweet where it's like, the Eric Andre meme? Please say woman. So yeah, A Pearl's great. Lonesome Love, for the fact that Lonesome Love is like less than 2 minutes long is fucking insane to me, because it does not feel that long. It feels like, holy shit. Remember My Name, the guitar intro, or whatever the fuck that is, sounds incredible. And Me and My Husband, it is a great musically type song. I love it. And then obviously Nobody is Nobody. I've listened to it like 40 times now. It's great. And yeah, that's my top 5, top 6 of this album. I will say Side A is a bit stronger than Side B, but I think it's just by virtue of like, Side B is like a bit more ballady, and Side A is a bit more like, this is the rockin' tunes, alright? This is the rocks. But, yeah. This album is great. Be the Cowboy in stores now. And, yeah, I think that will do it for this week's podcast. We'll be back at some point. I don't know when. What's coming out soon? I feel like now is the time, like, because we've been brewing some ideas. They've been in the cooler. They've been in the cooker that I think we actually might try to do once, like, I'm not busy with, like, work and shit. So, yeah, we will see you guys next time. Make sure to follow us on Twitter at IndieheadsPod. Subscribe to us on iTunes and YouTube. Give us a review on iTunes also. And once again, follow me on Twitter at MotorVanPrince. Follow the damn Horse Jeans at Horse Jeans. Just put out a new electronic DJ Horse Jeans.
I did. I put it. We can do plugs real quick at the end. I just put out a new mix. It's mostly like house music, acid house, kind of ambient stuff. It's real fun. You can dance to it if you like bleep bloops. Check that out at DJ Horse Jeans on SoundCloud. You know it.
And and also make sure to check out my radio show, Obscurity Knocks, every Sunday on 89.9 WLCA. You know, usually I have a little reminder.
Which now has some sweet artwork for it, thanks to Renee.
Shout out to Renee real quick, who just did a new Twitter icon for me, and it looks fucking great. She's doing commissions right now. I think you can probably find a tweet about it, or I think she's like at Renee. I don't know. Just I'll probably you can find it.
Hit us up if you want the link.
Hit us up. All right.
If you can follow Matty, you've seen it.
She's doing some damn great commissions. I really, Jackson, you really need to ball out. Pay $10, get a centaur avatar of you wearing the damn horse jeans.
Honestly, that's the move. I probably will ask her to do that.
It is time to really lean into the horse jeans brand.
I really deeply love my current avatar, which is Sad Kermit wearing the cowboy hat. It just.
I mean, you could have a centaur of you wearing the damn horse jeans and have a cowboy hat on yourself.
That is true. That's fair enough. Okay,
you can recreate these vibes.
We'll workshop this off.
All right. I hope you guys enjoyed this week's podcast, and we will see you guys on the next one. Goodbye.